Hello, friends, and welcome to the most glorious of events, the Movie Mavericks podcast. This outstanding program is hosted by two fine gentlemen, Jason and Trevor. Now make it so.
MovieMavericks.com.
Hey, now everybody, welcome to episode 370 of the Movie Mavericks podcast. I'm Trevor Anderson. Send you over to Jason Rugard, who is oddly sitting right next to me, virtually. But he's got it right now.
We are, yeah. Through the power of alien magic and the internet, we are next to each other, even though we are miles apart. Although it's good to see you and rub shoulders with you again. It's been too long. For those of you that are just listening and don't know, we are doing our inaugural video on the YouTube channel for the Movie Mavericks. This is going to be a companion with our auditory releases every week. So if you want to see our beautiful mugs, you can go ahead and check us out on the YouTube channel. It's been a long time since we did this before. We did it about 9 years ago, and it wasn't the greatest quality back then. And technology has caught up to us, and so has age. But you get to see our beautiful faces still here.
We're still here. We're still doing it. 10 years in. We've been doing this for a decade.
Years.
Not on YouTube.
Not on YouTube, but we have been podcasting since when there was only but a few hundred podcasts. And that you can check that out. Now there are millions. And we appreciate you guys that are still listening and now watching our videos. But tonight we're going to be talking about a lot of movies, things that we had gotten caught up with, things that we hadn't seen, some that he had seen that I hadn't yet, and now vice versa. We talked about Tenet, Unhinged, Little Things, Run, Hide, Fight. We're going to be talking about The War with Grandpa. We're going to be about a lot of things that you guys probably haven't heard of or have been thinking about watching yourselves. Maybe you've even seen some of these things. But first, let's do this trivia game. Trevor's got this trivia game that he keeps popping out. And I think we're about 50-50 on overall for the season, right? Are we about 50-50?
I think we're still 50-50 right now. We get some right, some wrong. This is the book here, Obsessed with Hollywood. We can see the graphic a lot better. It's a cool little thing, little electronic thing, but we'll have it choose our things.
I just like to preface this by saying that my general knowledge of film, even though, between the two of us, we know a lot about movies and trivia, but it only goes for me until about early 1970s. From 70s to current, I'm solid. But when you start getting in some 40s, but like when you start getting into the 30s or some spots in the 50s, my knowledge gets real shitty.
Oh yeah, 50s and past it can be pretty rough, and even 60s and 70s, depending on the genre and what it is. Obviously, we weren't born quite back then to be have watched a lot of those movies, so it's a lot easier to stick to a living decade there,
Well, and movies weren't as readily available as they are now. You couldn't just see, a random film from the 50s unless your local video store had it back then.
A lot of the classics they did have, though, even on VHS.
Fair.
So, I don't know.
I mean, I saw a lot of films for the first time in film school that we had never... I never saw The Maltese Falcon before, The Big Sleep, things like that, like movies that you figured you had seen. I love Double Indemnity because of that.
Sure.
I never had experienced it before. Yeah, that's a great flick.
So we're doing guilty pleasures here.
Oh, I don't know if I live on guilty pleasures.
It is guilty pleasures, and the image here, if you can see it, is Steven Seagal. So
I feel extremely confident in this conversation right now.
So you're probably feeling pretty good right now. I was going to
bring up to you recently to just go ahead and watch the Under Siege movie, and I hope that you're on board about this. Yeah. What do we got?
All right. It says, according to the tagline for 4 Rooms, how many outrageous guests are featured in the film? A10, B7, C15, or D12? 4 Rooms. I do not remember how many outrageous guests are featured.
Okay, let's go through this. Let's go through this.
12 guests? 7?
I want to say there's 15, but 12 sounds right. I want to say 12. It's either 12 or 15 because Antonio Banderas is in the one with his kids. Is there's 3 of them in that room? There's at least 2 in each other room.
I've not seen this movie
since '95, maybe.
Yeah, and I would know what the cover looks like, but I do not remember what the tagline says. I
thought this was going to be a question about Steven Seagal, to be honest with you. I feel like you kind of baited and switched me a little bit.
I did a little bit there. Sorry about that.
I would have been better off with a question about Steven Seagal than 4 Rooms. Fuck. I'm going to go with 12, actually. I think that's a better number.
Yeah, all right. 12. That is correct. Thank you very much.
We go 12.
I'm glad you went with my choice there.
All right. One buys you two. We got to do another one.
All right. 2153. Let's do it.
A little affirmation that we still have our wits about us, even though we're just flailing on this podcast.
Yes,
right now.
I know. Luckily, this is contemporary films. It says, I think. 53. No, we're just at the last. We're at the end of Obsessed with Hollywood. Oh no. Sorry, that one. Contemporary would have been better.
This is going to be the golden era.
Tom Mullen's son is kidnapped and held for a $2 million ransom in this aptly titled thriller Ransom. That's not totally out of there, but what is his son's name? Well, I don't. Corey, Sean, David, or Brad?
Sean.
You think it's Sean? I have
Sean.
Absolutely no idea.
It's going to be Sean.
It could be Corey too. Actually, it could be any of them. But you're going to go with Sean. You seem very
Sean.
confident, so I'll back you up on that one. You're right. It is Sean.
You got to go until you lose. I feel that one more is this is why you can't take me to a casino.
Low number too.
You know why I got that right is because I just recalled the trailer with Mel Gibson in the 1996 remake where he's screaming to get Brody. That's Brody Nolte, Nick Nolte's son, playing his son in the movie, and it was Sean. I just remember him saying that for some reason in the trailer.
Well, so you cheated.
I basically used Common Core math, movie style, to get the answer on that one.
So we got a 570, so that puts us in movie quotes and dialogue.
Great.
In Touch of Evil, Schwartz says, Hank was a great detective, all right. What is Tanya's response to this? I have no idea. And a lousy cop? Compared to what? He's a great detective just so long as he's dead, despite all evidence to the contrary.
It's compared to what, I want to say. I saw this one time in film school, and we had to watch. You remember watching this? We had to watch that 10-minute tracking shot that opens.
I don't remember this part though.
I want to say it's compared to what?
I feel like, despite all evidence to the contrary, sounds pretty good. That's what I would have written, but
all right, we'll split.
I don't know that that's right, but we'll do B. No, what is it? It's A. And a lousy cop. Well, that just sucks.
Yeah, okay. Well, we're going 2 for 3, which is higher than our average has been, so we're at the 75%. Not bad, though. Not bad. I'm going to pat ourselves on the back for our accomplishment
I have
today.
not... see, that's the hard thing about a lot of this trivia, though, is that you have to somehow have this stuff on fast recall right away.
Well, especially if it's time trivia. A lot of these, when bars were open and in clubs, they were doing a lot of game nights.
Well, I just don't remember
trivia type stuff in time.
Specifics, I guess, to that degree. I haven't seen this stuff in a while.
You're pretty good about story points. You'll remember story points more than, and I'll remember more like, yeah, but you're good about story points. You'll pull up a story and go, oh, well, this happened. I remember like the overall arc, and you'll remember like the subplots within the movie as well. You're good about that. 2 out of 3. Not too bad.
All right.
Let's move on and talk about the movies of the night. The first one of the night, the big summer blockbuster, the movie that was going to save cinemas. Did it save cinemas? What do you think?
Yeah. Not only did it save it once, it saved cinemas twice. Pretty sure.
From re-coming back out?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it did it twice, right? It came out, it was going to save cinemas, and then it came out again and saved them again. Saved them twice. That's how good this movie is.
And to be fair, this did make about $60 million, which is the high point of the U.S. box office since the pandemic started a year ago. And it's made more than Wonder Woman. But, I don't want to bash this without saying some positive things. I am very back and forth on Nolan films. Thinking over the whole filmography, the only one I truly love is Batman Begins. Yeah. Dark Knight, I respect. Dark Knight Rises, I find Dark Knight a little too nihilistic. It's a little too downtrodden for me. And maybe that's because of all the Heath Ledger stuff associated with it, but even the storyline is very nihilistic. And Dark Knight Rises is, there was a lot of stuff attached to that movie with the theater shooting, so I never felt I never got into it when I saw it in the theater, and I've seen it since, and it still doesn't grab me. And I don't know if it's because I have a block there, and I think about the real life thing associated when that movie came out. But regardless, Nolan's last few films, Interstellar, just didn't grip me, and this one left me cold as well. But I do think Robert Pattinson is the best thing in the movie. Kenneth Branagh is fantastic. Washington is just fine. He's just good enough. But I'm really sold now as Pattinson as Batman, having seen him in Tenet. Mm-hmm. Did you get that vibe at all? Do you think that he commanded the screen more than you thought he would have?
Yeah, I liked him in it quite a bit. And he has the most interesting viewpoint of the whole thing as it goes down. I said more than anybody else. So his character is probably in the most interesting place during the whole thing. I don't know. This movie's like a time loop. Time kind of plays forward, but they also have a way of going backwards in time or reversing time, basically. Shouldn't be surprising. That's pretty much what they show you, but they don't want you to know somehow for some reason.
Yeah, it's a Nolan gimmick as well. Another Nolan gimmick.
Yeah, and like the setup to this movie as well as there's a lot of setup. This movie's super slow. Especially in the first half of it is just so slow to finally get to the point that you've already guessed, you already know, and it's a time loop, so it kind of gives itself away for a lot of things. Like you've come to expect these things if you've seen any movie that has a time loop in it, right?
Yeah, you know the cliches or the tropes of the genre in a sense, because time travel movies like this are a subgenre into themselves, and it's not necessarily a time travel movie, but it's messing with the linear format of storytelling.
No, it is a time traveling movie.
I know, but I mean,
it's completely a time traveling movie.
It's just not a. It's a good movie in that it's a big movie. It's got big things in it. I mean, I liked the oversized machinery. I liked the buildings. I liked the look of it, the aesthetic of it. But when it comes down to it, I don't know if this was a story worth telling. What I really got out of this story is that it's about a bad marriage. That Kenneth Branagh and his wife are in this terrible situation, and he is just dominating her, but can't get rid of her for some reason. And Branagh comes on the screen, and the movie turns into a different film. He commands it so much that you immediately want to go with that character. And then as the thing plays out, and it gets sillier and more convoluted as it goes, I just thought, what are we doing here? Is this just basically another version of Nolan showing he wants to make a James Bond movie, that he can do a Mission Impossible but with a sci-fi angle, basically? That's what we have here.
I mean, it does feel like that. I don't know. He does a good job on, as you say, big budget action sequences. I think his action sequences are pretty fun and interesting, especially when you get the mood music behind them. He'll do he tends to like people who do score, like Hans Zimmer, I guess, obviously.
Well, this was Ludwig Göransson.
I know. I'm just trying to be descriptive of what he likes, which is just mood music, right? Like a burn or something like that, right? And that'll like almost like a foghorn going off will be like music and some Nolan shit, but it works. It does kind of send you that signal that this is serious. This is a serious movie right now. Some serious things are going on. The problem I have is that the plot doesn't really support that so much. It just doesn't seem so like Nolan movies are so big and so in your face and so loud, except when the dialogue is turned down, as he likes to do for whatever reason. Then you can't hear people, but then you
they
realize,
have things obstructing their face.
As you say, by the time
what's the deal?
By the time you get to the end of the movie, you realize, this is just a small movie. It's so tiny. What does this have to do with anything?
He has to hide a lot of the simpleness of the story by making it overly complex in the telling, I feel.
I agree, too.
And then in the filmmaking style, he makes it almost operatic to, once again, prop up a small story, because it's a small idea, confusingly told in a big film.
That's what I would say about Robert Pattinson's character being the most interesting character in this, because he really is... I don't want to ruin it for people because that is, I think, an interesting way of telling this story, of having him.
Fair enough.
Again, I can't say it without ruining it for anyone, so I won't.
It's that kind of movie. I mean, good luck writing a review on this without talking in depth about it. Did you like any of the sequences? Because I did find the car chase was nicely done, or the reverse car chase, and I did like the sequence when they were in the vault. I thought that was fairly clever how they did things there.
Well,
but no more so than a Ghost Protocol when they're in the hallway with the big.
But the minute you hear those things, you know you can call the ending, right? Because you know technically the ending before it happens. Because this is a time loop type movie. And, and so it kind of ruins in that sense. Because at the same time, it's a time loop. But with any time loop, you have rules. I'm not really sure exactly what the rules are to this. I'm sure that they'll be happily broken at some, within the movie at some point. I don't know. I didn't pay that much attention to it, but I don't know. What was this? What did they keep saying in this movie? What's happened has happened, or something like that. The kind of
there was a mantra.
They gave you the idea that things were set in stone, so to speak. As far as time goes, so it kind of. I don't know. I understand why he held off for so long before telling you what was going on, because it was kind of cool to see that stuff happen before, and then you see, oh, this is what's actually going on after the fact. But it also once the
reveal is there,
once the curtains are pulled back, it's kind of like, well, yeah. Like I get it now. I don't need to watch the last hour of this movie.
It's heavy exposition in that sequence because they have to go over it very well on what has happened. Ultimately, I think a big, beautiful failure, which is very reminiscent of a lot of Nolan films to me. Overly long, beautifully shot, exquisitely acted. But the writing, the material itself to me isn't worthy of all the trouble they have to go through.
Yeah.
It's just not a good enough story to go through. I mean, some of those images are absolutely stunning when they're scaling the building in India, when they're on the ocean, when there's massive windmills that are just out there. Just throwaway bits. But at the same time, they're not... Nothing sticks with me. Nothing in that film stuck with me as I was watching it. I just kept thinking, this is a filmmaker playing a game. I'm stuck in the gimmick. I hope the gimmick pays off. Much like an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Shyamalan. I can't remember.
I'd agree with you. There's that point at the end. It's not the end of the movie, because obviously that's the Kenneth Branagh stuff. But when they had the big, huge action sequence with all the soldiers and everything at the end, and that finally keeps going, and it's switching back and forth in time and everything, and finally it gets to the end of that. That's one of those things where it's like, okay, this build-up is too much. Like, end it. When is this going to end? When is it going to end? Get this guy. Don't get this guy. Do something. It
almost becomes a parody on itself.
A little bit at that point, because you're like, oh, who's this guy? Oh, that guy's dead, but okay, not really. Like, we're gonna what the hell's going on here? Yeah, I don't know. So maybe it got a little too confusing at times.
Like I said, beautifully done. Good to see Robert Pattinson in a role where you feel, all right, maybe he can't step into the Batman mantle now, having seen him in this, where he comes across as an adult actor.
Yeah. I mean, I agree.
No longer a teen star.
I agree. I don't know. With all the superhero movies that and shows they're doing now, like Shazam and the new, I've seen the trailers for the new Superman show on CW. They just pad the suits now, so there's no, anyone can be Batman. I mean,
well, Michael Keaton wasn't exactly jacked back in the day.
No, but his suit was hard. Kilmer. It wasn't even padded. It was just molded.
Yeah, it was like a black rubber mold. It had zero flexibility.
You couldn't really see very much. I didn't reflect light very well either. I don't...
Like his head was in a fucking car accident. It was clamped, He had 30 degrees mobility.
I guess that's the 300 type thing, right? Where they spray paint the abs on you.
Oh, yeah. Well,
same thing,
I'm sure
I guess.
They did that in a lot of movies.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about a guy who definitely doesn't have abs anymore, and that is Russell Crowe, Mr. Gladiator himself. The award-winning actor has let himself go to shit. I'm actually very concerned about Russell Crowe's liver enzymes. I think he is swollen almost to buffoonish proportions in this movie. And don't tell me it was method acting because he wanted to get into the role. This guy's gone full Marlon Brando at this point. He is extremely heavy-set, bearded, and really good, actually, in this movie, Unhinged. It's a good little B-movie, a sturdy little B-movie. It's not going to provide you with anything else but a guilty pleasure and 90 minutes of entertainment. It's exceedingly violent. I didn't think this movie was going to be as violent as it was. Mm-hmm. I was thinking it was going to be a little bit softer-handed, but it starts off with a bit of violence. It takes off very well, and, Crowe's the bad guy that's not giving anything away. His comeuppance in the end is extremely violent, and
his comeuppance,
you kind of cheer.
His kills in this movie are freaking violent.
That's
starting
what
off
I'm saying.
at the beginning
it
of the
starts
film
off
is like, holy cow!
first sequence, and my kind of gripe in this movie is that when it's all said and done, the mom really didn't learn her lesson, and the son has to remind her.
Right?
Did you not just experience the whole fucking movie we just went through?
Yeah. Learn to just be a little kinder, because people are crazy. Just cover
what's
your
with the
ass.
road
Right?
rage?
Cover your ass.
You're clearly
You can
just
be mean to
experienced
people under
something.
your breath. They don't have to hear you.
This script feels like it's been laying around, though, since about 1992. So I don't know why this just got made now, or if this was just written recently. It's done by Carl Ellingsworth.
Yeah, they had a bunch of these. I think, I don't know. Maybe Lakeview Terrace would be like
yes,
the last kind of a
Lakeview
movie
Terrace.
I could think of like this necessarily. I mean, Changing Lanes obviously would be around the time period that you're setting this, and that's a very similar-esque movie. But yeah, just your classic. It's not
Breakdown would be another one like that.
It's not a slasher movie, but it is just a guy who breaks, right? He just goes over the edge. So it's kind of, in that sense, a slasher movie. Mm-hmm. Oddly enough, but
do you know what movie typifies that whole genre you just explained? Did you ever see Unlawful Entry? With
Sure.
Kurt Russell and Ray
That's
Liotta back in the day. 100%. He's a good cop, but he kind of has this like little wacky tick, and then he loses it, much like Lakeview Terrace and whatnot. Those are both.
But I agree.
Movies,
they don't make movies like this really anymore. Although they don't make a lot of little actiony movies so much anymore. So,
the obsessive killer was big in the single white female era.
There's another
Pacific
good
Heights.
example of it, but it's like they're like slasher movies, but they're not horror. Even though I would say this is awfully bloody and
it's
visceral.
teetering.
It's very he's very fat, but he's very strong.
Well,
So,
I know that's
pick.
exemplified by the sequence in the diner that I'll let you explain when
It
his
was
girth
the most
becomes
awesome
apparent and he
sequence
beats a man
ever.
to death with his
Yeah,
phone.
he squeezes into that little diner seat, and you'd expect people to be like, okay, we can take this guy. He's trapped in the booth. He's fat.
Stuck.
There's no way. Like, he would be swinging at him, right? He wouldn't be able to get him. He wouldn't be able to get you. You could take him out. That's
First
what
of
I
all, he's
didn't
so
understand
arthritic.
about that part. Is that people are, but maybe that's kind of the world of the movies, that people are kind of weenies. He is.
He's this dominating force. This
Yeah,
alpha.
he's gone over the edge. Like, he's willing to go to that extra length, and no one else is against him, so to speak. Which is there's the scene where try not to. I don't want to give away the movie, but the last half of the movie when he's finally really going through her Rolodex of people and stuff, and he kills the one guy, but he actually makes
close
him.
To her.
He kills not him, but he kills the girl, but through the other guy. You know what I'm talking about? Try
It's
not to give it
inventive.
away.
It's clever.
I mean,
like that.
holy shit!
That's a good
though.
kill.
That's some
That's
like,
a good
oh
kill.
my god, that's a kill, man. It's almost borderline like horror, like, I don't know, Final Destination-esque with its kills a little bit, I thought. So if you like horror movies and gore, it's not really gory, but it is bloody. And like I say, violent. When he attacks in Jimmy Simpson's character, when he's in the diner, he's in the booth, and Jimmy Simpson's just sitting across from the booth, and he's just slamming his head into the table and stuff. And normally that kind of stuff in action movies is like, ooh, yeah, okay, whatever. But this is like, oh god,
it's excessive, like I said. And he's, don't tell me he's not inflamed. I think those knees are bad, and he couldn't go after anybody. But in the movie, he's this.
Even in the movie, he's rotund. He kind of like hobbles around. I think you could run away from him, is what I'm saying. I could get away from him.
He's still Russell Crowe, and he's still a good actor, and that comes through even in this kind of B-movie garbage.
He's really intense.
It reminds me, he's obviously Australian, and this reminds me of kind of the Ozploitation genre that existed a long time ago.
This is something
too.
that
These
Gibson,
kind of road
but
movies.
also a very intense kind of roles.
Yes.
They're really good at.
Did you ever see Shattered with Gerard Butler and Pierce Brosnan years ago? It was kind of a B movie, much, not similar to this, but in the same vein, I should say. That reminded me of this, but it goes to show you how different the approach is when you got a Pierce Brosnan and a Russell Crowe. I mean, Pierce Brosnan's still holding it together. He's a good-looking older gentleman. He could probably still play James Bond if he wanted to. Russell Crowe is a long way from his Gladiator days.
Not. He won't be in Gladiator. He'd be rolling around in the arena. I don't know what the hell he'd do.
He's the fucking tiger at this point.
Well, he could be like one of those blow-up clowns you punch, but he falls down, but he comes back up, He's so round, he's so bottom heavy. I just don't understand some of the logic in the movie, too. It's got that movie logic where this guy is omnipresent. He can get anywhere all the time. There's no traffic whenever he needs to be. And he gets away from things. The cops never show up on time, ever. He can hang out at a place for as long as he needs to. And the cops won't show up until like the end, until they need to show up, right? Then they show up, or they'll show up elsewhere. But they show up really fast other places where he's not. It's like, oh, okay. The cops, it's not that bad. I liked
this movie. I did find it enjoyable for what it was, and that's just a little rental, a cheap Friday night flick, and a drinking film if you need something to watch. For every time he has a kill, have a shot, and you'll be
I thought the acting was good, and like I say, the horror aspects of it, the violence and all that, it did a good job of it. It gets very cartoony, but it's kind of a cartoony idea anyways, and it's not outlandish for this genre, and it's not outlandish for the horror slasher films to get a little cartoony, and it's kind of fun. I don't know, this movie does drag a little bit, as a lot of these do, because it doesn't it's a lot of hot air, and it's a lot of hot air to keep going, at a steady rate.
It's a lot of filler.
There's really nothing to this. You get the idea of it. We just told you it. That's the movie. It can slow
it was
down.
Written by Carl Zelsworth, who did Red Eye, and I know you're a fan of that, but this is the
very similar,
almost horror type movie. It's a thriller. It's contained within a couple characters. There's a couple exterior characters that are basically used just to be picked off so that they can get to the main character. And I don't know. I thought this, for me, was more successful than Red Eye in terms of films side by side. All right, let's talk about the new Denzel Washington film, The Little Things. This is an HBO Max release. This is one of the films that was supposed to be in theaters. They've dumped onto HBO Max. Trevor and I keep telling you guys, this is the best value in streaming. If you don't have HBO Max, you are missing out on the best library in film. You cannot find these on Netflix, Prime, anywhere. I mean, you might find here and there titles, but eventually all that shit's going to be moved.
The new Warner movies that are coming out are actually fairly decent.
Films.
Yeah, for every month you at least get one, if not several. And I mean, honestly,
and the documentaries, the series, all that.
I mean, I'm watching Tom and Jerry when it comes out in a couple days. I'm watching everything.
Shit, I'm watching Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, Batman. So. They have all the Batmans on there right now. They have good collection. They have all the Saw movies are on there.
Yep. Right now they have a lot of old, like I said, the Matrix
stuff.
Are on there. Mm-hmm. They got everything you need, but we're not getting paid to shill for them. Although I did read today, I just want to briefly say that Paramount Plus is launching soon, and they announced that 45 days after Mission Impossible 7's in theaters, it'll be available on Paramount Plus. They didn't say it's going to be a premium to buy it, but they said it will be available for home viewing. I'm all for that.
I'm down.
But I still want to see Top Gun 2 in a theater.
Yeah, I'm excited for Paramount Plus. I think that could be a winner as well if they do it as well as what Warner's do with HBO. But then again, no one seems to like HBO. Everybody likes Netflix and Disney. But I can't win on either one of those. I'm not super into either of those.
Well, what it tells me is that nobody really gives a shit about watching films. They just want episodic television. Because if you have a Bridgerton or Stranger Things... Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it. But we watched The Little Things. You and I both got a chance to see this movie. I was highly disappointed in it. I think it's a wannabe 7 without the compelling angle of it. The nihilistic ending is very interesting in that they tried to ape 7. But you want to talk about movies where you don't understand the behavior of characters. The third act on is filled with so much ludicrousness that I thought this was just... Were they just making this up on the fly? Because a character gets into a car with somebody who's a suspected serial killer and leaves. Another character is on top of a rooftop when these Keystone cops are doing the search for a break-in and don't find them.
I agree with you.
And then, how many fucking holes did this guy dig in the desert? And how long was he out there? And nobody came by. Nobody saw him.
Shia LaBeouf.
Nobody has... It just, yeah, to me, I thought this thing, as it went on, it started off sloppy. It got me in the second act a little bit. I didn't think that there was much chemistry between Washington or Malick. I thought Leto was just doing a phoned-in performance. I really liked that first sequence, but once again, why do people, when they're getting chased in a fucking movie, stop and get out of the car? What did that girl do that for? The whole thing was just full of character, unbelievable character actions, and I just thought that was a signal of bad writing. The only thing I really liked about this movie was the one shot at the end when Washington is burning things, and I thought that was there's a giveaway there, and I thought that was the best part of the whole movie. Other than it being filmed right over by you, I mean, this movie was filmed right down the street from where you live.
Yeah, well, it's shot on the old Ojai Freeway.
Yeah, the sequence there where they're on the
cars
is on the 33 there. You know exactly
that's the freeway they get off. They don't go down that freeway in that movie, but they do use that freeway in this movie.
Yeah, quite often.
Yeah, so that was interesting to see that.
What'd you think here?
But other than that, yeah, this movie's not great. It wants to be a serial killer movie, and it's not. It's so weird. By the time you get to the end of this, it's so off from where it started. You know, like you say, it wants to be 7. I wish it wanted to be 7. I don't know what it wants to be. Because
it's confused.
What's the serial killer have to do with this movie? Like nothing really, because it has nothing to do with the movie. I don't know. These characters all have their own little weird idiosyncrasies. They're odd human beings in general. And when you put them together, they just do weird things. And I agree. It's once he's escaping from the Jared Leto's house. This is the Denzel Washington character, and he climbs up on the roof. He's evading the police who have surrounded the place by going up on the roof, going around all this stuff, and Jared Leto's watching him. Rami Malek is watching him. Everyone sees him except for the cops. It's ridiculous. And then after that, it just gets even worse because they answer the payphone across the street from Jared Leto's house, and it's Jared Leto. It's awesome.
Yes.
And so Jared Leto becomes this I don't know, focal point of this movie about the serial killer, and he's just this weird guy, and that's it. And I'm not even ruining anything when I say that, because it's so obvious that he's just a guy.
He is the
he's
guy.
just a weird guy who does weird shit and is weird. And so what's the point of the movie? Well, wait till you get to the end of it, because I tell you, it's a not only is it a letdown, it's too much, and it leaves you nowhere. It actually leaves you exactly where you started. I don't know. I was not a fan of this. I thought, as far as detective movies go, the detective work in this is just non-existent. I don't know what the hell this is. Because at first,
at best.
Well, it's like Denzel Washington's like, he's the best detective. He's like detecting all kinds of shit. And Rami Malek's like, oh my God, teach me, master, teach me. It's amazing. How do you do this? And by halfway through the movie, you're like, neither one of these fucking guys would be able to solve any damn crime ever.
Yeah, it's like I said, character actions are so unbelievable. It's terribly directed and written, and which is surprising because John Lee Hancock has done good work. I wasn't a fan of his last film, The Highwaymen, with Costner and Woody Harrelson, but even compared to this, at least that's had coherent. A through line. There's no red herring. There's nobody who's even a suspect. They just go right to Leto. He says it's not him. Then they get the warrants, and then they don't get the warrant. It's like it's procedural all the way down the line until it becomes so outlandish that you're stuck with this thing, and it tries to have an ambiguous ending, but then doesn't have the balls to have the ambiguous ending, and I don't really know what it was saying. The movie should be called The Weird Little Things,
The Little Weird Things, yeah.
Rather, because it's full of what it is little weird character ticks and like you said, idiosyncrasies, and those are the scenes that play, and then everything else doesn't. I don't give a shit about the ghost that this guy sees or anything at all on any level. I didn't like this movie at all. Can you tell?
Yeah, it's a weird movie, man. I don't know. It wasn't very good, so we'll tell that. But you should still get HBO.
Let me talk about. Yeah, let me tell you something about that I actually did kind of enjoy. This is a Robert De Niro film that's also been playing during the pandemic called The War with Grandpa. This is a Weinstein film that was shot back in 2017, wasn't released till this year, and found success in theaters in the Midwest and East Coast that were open during the summer. it's a cute movie. I hate to use that term in telling about a film, but the way I look at this must have been on the Blacklist, which, if you don't know, is the top screenplays, unproduced screenplays of the year. It's cute. It feels like it could have been someone's thesis script. It's never really mean-spirited. The little boy is at war with the grandfather, but he's really not. I mean, they say, "I love you" through it. And at the same time, the grandfather wants to tell the grandson, war isn't something you play at. People get hurt. It breaks up things. There is a decent message in it. I like Christopher Walken in it, and Cheech Marin and Jane Seymour. They were trying to do something here. It's not going to offend anybody. It's got a few chuckles. It's it's a step away from just being on a Disney Plus type movie or a Nickelodeon or a ABC Family. Remember those type movies, the Disney Sunday night movie? There's nothing that's going to offend anybody in this movie. And even when they're trying to show De Niro as this crotchety old cankerous man, he's not really. I mean, he gets into a confrontation with Faison Love, who, if you know him, he's a big, stout black guy, probably about a 300-pound black guy. And you're like, if this was real life and the way they're portraying this character, this conversation would have gone a lot different. But, he kicks him in the shin and runs off. It's just like, it's soft and it's fine. And I enjoyed it for what it was. It's kind of sad to see Uma Thurman in a role like this you're used to seeing De Niro delegated to shit like this. We saw Dirty Grandpa. We saw the dirty version of this, which I actually like too. I think that's funny. That's a better movie, but this was good enough for what it is and for bringing everybody back together one last time. I mean, my girlfriend's got a saying that there's no bad movie with Christopher Walken.
That's just not true.
And I just keep pointing.
There's too many Christopher Walken movies for that to be true.
I just point out the prophecy, Suicide Kings. I mean, like we got to go through the lines here. It's like there are a lot of shit Christopher Walken movies out there, but there are some good ones too. So, got to be fair. What did you see? You saw Run, Hide, Fight?
Yeah, Run, Hide, Fight. So this is the school takeover movie. I guess school shooter movie, really. So it's a little. I guess warning, as far as that goes.
Be prepared for what you're watching.
It is. It's pretty violent. It goes straight for what it is. It's unapologetic about that. And so I liked it a lot. I like the acting is fantastic. Rhoda Mitchell, Thomas Jane are the parents in this. Isabel May plays the main character, and you have Ollie Sholaton, if I'm saying that right, hopefully, who's her best friend, who's really good as well. And then Treat Williams, the substitute himself, plays
Treat Williams
sheriff.
Over here at Movie Mavericks. Love me a good
so
Treat
of course
Williams
the older people are kind of there. They're not the main part of the movie, but they're there to kind of round out the cast. I'll give it some legitimacy, I guess I would say. Not that the kids need it. The kids are really good. My only complaint on this is the bad guy is awfully cartoony. His only point is to prove that school shootings can happen, I guess. It's a weird point. He just wants to be on the news. And so he kind of plays this. He's like a Batman villain, It's a bit much for that. So it's not just a school shooter. They actually have it's kind of like a Die Hard in a way, I guess would be the way that I would explain it. If Die Hard were a school shooter, that would be this movie.
Well, it sounds to me like this is a little reminiscent of Toy Soldiers. Do you recall that one back in the early 90s?
Is.
Yeah,
this has a very 80s, 90s kind of a vibe to it, even though it's very modern. But it does feel like a movie that they would have made back then, and not something that you see very often nowadays. So I'd hope that we see more stuff like this, because I like the movie. I thought it was pretty good, and it's definitely one of those movies that's about manning up, so to speak. Even though this is a girl here, but she's definitely tough enough. She's taking out people left and right. She hunts with her
dad. It looks like from the trailer. She's very skilled at shooting and marksmanship and things like that.
She knows how to hunt. She knows how to do certain things that would lead you to believe that I guess she would be good at fighting.
Well, that's always.
It's not so much a physical movie necessarily, though, in that sense, as much as it is about having the balls to put yourself in harm's way. To go back.
You sold me when you said that Thomas Jane and Rhoda Mitra is in this because I like both those actors and actresses, and that's a great cast to begin with. Those are two B-movie legends. And on top of that, it's written and directed by Kyle Rankin. Rankin?
Rankin,
and he's a Project Greenlight winner. If you didn't ever watch that show, shame on you. It was a great HBO contest show about struggling filmmakers, and they would give them a movie. The first season sucked. The guy was an asshole. Kyle's season was season 2. And
it was him and the other guy. I can't remember his name.
Ephraim.
Oh, yeah.
Ephraim something, Pontinkim or
yeah, no, you're right.
Like that. And those two guys made, what was the name of the film?
Battleshaker Heights. It was the Amy Smart, Shia LaBeouf movie. It was actually pretty good. I think that horror movie they made in the 3rd season was probably, actually, I mean, it spawned, like 4 other movies?
Feast?
Yeah, Feast. It spawned at least 4 other movies, I think. So that would have been probably the biggest movie that Project Greenlight ever made. But Battleshaker Heights was really good, and I thought it was the most interesting season to watch if you ever get a chance to watch any of these. As far as drama, and shit that went down, I thought, and these guys were both very interesting. And this movie's directed really slickly, like it's very sharp. There's no fat on this movie at all.
I want to see this just because I like the poster and everything you're telling me. Plus, it sounds like a throwback type flick. Yeah. And to see a series, I mean, you're not going to... If you saw the trailer and the poster, you know what you're getting yourself into. Don't be offended. If you want to see a serious, real examination of what this can do, watch a film called We Need to Talk About Kevin with Tilda Swinton. Tilda Swanson? What's her name? You know what I'm talking about. Tilda Swinton. And she stars in it, and it's about a married couple whose son... that they love and looks like they have no problems, goes off to school and commits one of these. Is it Martin Sheen in it as well? Not Martin Sheen.
No, it's
is it Martin Sheen? The guy from Underworld who was married to Kate Beckinsale? I want to say he's in it as well. It could be Vincent Cassel. I'm confusing the lead actor in it, but it's a very good movie.
I'll look
and
this up. I
worth
can't
watching.
remember who was the dad.
The male lead is an actor of note. I want to say it was Martin Sheen. Not Martin Sheen as in Charlie Sheen's dad, but as in Underworld, Kate Beckinsale.
No, John C. Reilly was in this too. That's right.
Is he really? I don't know why he blocked that out.
That's what I was trying to remember if he was in that.
Okay. Yeah, well,
John
he's
C.
good
Reilly.
then. I just somebody call him.
I don't see. I can't remember. Is Michael Sheen is the guy you're thinking of? But I don't see him in this. I don't know. Maybe he's later on.
I don't know why I
in
put him in this. Maybe is he a principal in it?
I was going to say, maybe he has a
Is
bit
it
role in here somewhere. I don't know. Like it's full
reporter
cast.
possibly? I might be thinking of Frost Nixon. I don't know.
Yeah,
what I'm
he's in
thinking
Frost Nixon. That's for damn sure.
Nixon.
I don't
But
see...
the school shooting genre the school takeover has been done before, most notably to me, like I'd mentioned earlier, in Toy Soldiers back in 1991. I love that
I mean, it has
movie.
a very, like I say, 80s, 90s, yeah, right? Go Wolverines, right?
Oh, yeah, Red Dawn.
Obviously, it just has a very, that kind of feel to it when you get into a school type area. You can see the action here with all the guns and stuff. It's a very bloody movie, too, though. Like I say, it's a...
good.
Warning on that though, to some degree, because I think it presents itself as very serious. Like you feel like people can die in this movie, and it's an actual death. It's not like Die Hard in that sense where it's kind of like, oh, hoo, people are dying, how fun.
Yeah.
That's not how they portray death in this movie at all. So don't take that the wrong way when I say it's like Die Hard. It just the idea of her running through the school and fighting the bad guys and stuff is like Die Hard.
I'll give it a watch. I've been wanting to watch this movie. I forgot it came out. This was directly put out on the Daily Wire's
I think you can only
website.
watch it on Daily Wire, if I'm not mistaken. Although if you're crafty, you can find it elsewhere.
That there's, I'm sure there's alternate ways to find this.
But yeah, they Daily Wire. Who's apparently making? We're into movies now because they got Gina Carano now, or Carano.
Carano? Yeah, Gina Carano. Who, the beautiful Gina Carano, who I think took a lot of punches to the head and might be suffering from a little bit of CTE here and there.
She seems fine.
Damn, she can make some action movies. I like her. I like her movies. I liked Haywire, and
I've seen plenty of interviews with her. She's not stupid. She's not.
What was the one she made? What was the one she made with Treat Williams? He was in one.
Was he?
Weren't they in one called In the Cold or In the Blood together?
Was he in that movie?
I
vaguely remember watching that movie and thinking, And that was not one. That wasn't
My
a great
favorite.
one.
You're gonna have to recall the best
see who's
Treat
in
Williams
this.
story about him being on the special features
Danny
of
Trejo.
that one disc.
Oh yeah, Treat Williams is in this.
Do you recall what I'm talking?
Oh
There you
God,
go.
what movie was that? That was
Did we watch that together?
this movie?
What was that? No, we watched something where he's on the special features, and I'll let you recount the story about Treat Williams' reason for taking on the role.
Well, I can't remember. I don't remember if that was. It wasn't Deep Rising, but it was something like that. It might have been In the Blood. To be honest with you, it might have been that movie. But he
might have been, yeah.
basically said. I mean, it was. Shit, I'm trying to look through his things real quick. I cannot remember what movie that was, but it's not a very good movie. But he says the only reason he took the role was to go down to South America, wherever they were, Cabo. I don't remember where the hell it was shot at.
It was like Puerto
"It's a
Rico
free
or somewhere. It was
vacation."
like a
He's "What do you mean? Why am I in this movie? Look around." He's like, "Where are we right now? Why the hell do you think I'm here?" He's basically like, "I hardly work and I get to go free vacation." It's like that's got to be.
At least he's
that has
honest.
to be the answer to a lot of this stuff. Because how much of these B movies and stuff actually shoot down in Hawaii or in the Caribbean or Thailand. A lot of times you see huge vacation places, right?
Destination points, yeah. Australia, and then they go to Prague or Romania, and they can't get anybody to go. But yeah, with that, I loved that Treat Williams bit about what do you think I'm here for? I took this movie because of the fucking surroundings. Be an idiot. All right, moving on, I want to talk about a little B film from the 1980s that I've always wanted to see. This was a movie called White Phantom from 1987. This was a video store staple. I used to walk by this in the local video store and see this box art, and it's the kind of movie that the cover is so much better than the actual movie. It's got a ninja, it's got a guy with a sword, it's got a hot girl in distress who he's protecting, and this movie has almost none of those things and cannot live up to the hype that is on the cover. This is available on Tubi right now and on Amazon Prime. It is so fucking odd. It's about an American loner, and it's the kind of movie where you know he's an American because he wears a Yankees hat the whole time. You know, these kind of movies. He's got a Yankees ball cap on, so he's a Yankee. And he's in God knows where. They never really specify. Bo Evans is in this movie as well for like 3 minutes. But he's got some sort of obsession with basketball. The movie is a martial arts movie. All this asshole does is shoot hoops every other scene. You're like, stop playing. In fact, one of the characters even says to him, all you want to do is play basketball. And like, this is like, was the director obsessed with really wanting to make a basketball movie and got stuck
with a
doing
ninja
this?
movie?
It's almost nonsensical. The movie doesn't really have any sort of plot to speak of, but the final kill, when the white ninja shows up and he fights the guy in black and the white fight each other, the final kill is so bad. I actually took a screenshot and sent it to you. Just picture this, folks. The main character is walking away with the sword in hand. The bad guy runs up behind him and dives. The main character puts his hands behind his head and just lets the sword go. And the 3-foot fall from his hands to the ground is enough inertia for the sword to pierce through the bad guy as he's falling. It's fucking awesome. I'm telling you, you gotta watch this movie just for that scene. I can't honestly recommend this to anybody, but if you're a fan of guilty pleasures, which obviously we got the trivia question right at the beginning, check out White Phantom. Unfortunately, there was no sequel that ever materialized, probably because nobody in the movie had any sort of charisma or acting ability. But aside of that, it's the kind of movie you watch and you go, how did they even get this printed? Like, who printed the film? How did they
look at this?
How did they get this in focus?
It says,
it's
Enemy of Darkness at the bottom here. Up at the top says All New American Hero. I mean, you can tell this movie's sold all on advertisements, right? They just have a million. I can't even read what's in the red, but yeah, it's clearly just a buttload of like, I don't know.
It's marketing is all this is.
Yeah. Oh
and
my
the
God.
asshole on the cover here with the sword, he's not doing anything. He just, the whole movie, I'm telling you, he walks around in a Yankees hat, a long trench coat, shooting hoops. I don't understand. If somebody could explain to me the basketball angle of the film, I would be much appreciated because I didn't get it.
If you're a ninja, you're good at basketball?
Apparently, yeah. I mean, it worked out for the Teen Wolf. Why wouldn't it work out for a ninja? So
That's true.
That's what I learned about in Teen Wolf, is that if you become an animal, you literally become better at basketball. You gain 3 feet on your vertical.
I mean, I often see wolves playing basketball, and they're very good.
And also boxing. Don't forget about Teen Wolf 2.
That's true.
As well. All right, my man. Tell me about Tiny Perfect Things, the film on Amazon Prime. I think this is an Amazon Prime original, the debut on the channel.
This is an Amazon original, Map of Tiny Perfect Things. This is a Groundhog's Day movie, in case you haven't had enough of those. You know,
yeah, right.
Paul Springs is currently tearing up the Golden Globes, which makes me laugh because is that the best we got?
It's the most obvious we
sad.
got.
It's really that movie was just not that good. I thought that movie was a bit of a letdown. And I'll tell you the big difference between these. I liked this movie quite a bit. This is a young adult, teen, coming of age movie.
Those can be hit and miss.
It can be hit and miss, but this, much like Run, Hide, Fight, had the kind of the idea that life is hard. You have to push forward. You have to get through things. Whereas Palm Springs is taken from, I guess, like our age kind of a point of view, the midlife crisis point of view, where nothing matters, everything sucks, and so it's just like
a little bit more pessimistic.
Why do I want to do anything? So I find that a lot more boring. Like, there's not much to do there. But in Map of Tiny Perfect Things, there's a lot to do because there's people who want to keep living. They're excited. They're happy to do things. They want to try things. They haven't given up. So I don't know. It worked. I think that aspect worked well in Groundhog's Day. It doesn't work well for everything. I'm glad to see something different in this. And I liked the acting, and I liked the story, the screenplay, and whatnot. It's pretty straightforward. It's obviously highly ridiculous. It's a Groundhog's Day thing. Even what gets them out of the loop is, I don't get it completely. I mean, I guess it works because they said it works, so sure.
Oh, so there's a literal, like a time,
there's a time loop,
element
just
of
like
this.
Groundhog's Day.
Okay.
This kid's going through it, and he finds out, there's another girl who's going through it. And I won't ruin the movie past that, because the whole thing is basically him finding out about her and what she's going through, and all that kind of stuff. And they both want out of the loop. They both want to stay in the loop. You know, that kind of. It's much like Palm Springs. It was the same story, right? I mean, that movie had literally the same story.
The Palm Springs thing, when you touched on the nihilistic point of view, the pessimistic, the midlife crisis, the angst, that used to be a staple in the teen film. And then in the 90s, that kind of moved away. We got these really bright, poppy teen films
like American
that were
Pie,
full of energy and optimism. Well, you didn't cheese all that and that kind of stuff. And then we had, again, those angsty movies. And I would consider that like Garden State and The Last Kiss and things like that. And to me, those are both movies that just I cannot get through because of the depression of it. I don't like to see the mopey character. When it's done well, like in a Noah Baumbach film, like Greenberg, or While We're Young, I can relate and I can see myself in it in some ways. But when it's just the mopiness of it, it becomes overbearing, and I have to get away from it. So I understand what you're saying on the Palm Springs for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's all a great comparison there. I don't have a problem with those types of movies. I just don't think they're that great. You know, like Palm Springs wasn't. Everyone's trying to tell me it's such a great movie. It's not that great. You know. I don't know. Map of Tiny Perfect Things, I think is a great movie. It's has some meaning to it. And I would rather, at this point, look forward to life than think my life is over. You know what I mean? Like what message do you want to to watch? I don't know. I think that
particularly in entertainment.
Yeah, well, I think that's what I'm like. I'm far more attracted to young adult type stuff because that's young adults have their entire lives in front of them. And even when you get into movies like Fault of Our Stars or something, where young adults don't have all their lives in front of them, it's way more, I guess, impressive for how people deal with that kind of stuff at that age than, I don't know, someone who's older, who's already lived their life. I don't know. Like, at our age, you know things. You've learned some stuff. You should know things. You shouldn't act like a 20-year-old. And if you do, and And that's the whole point of it, is that I'm still, I never made it. I'm still a child.
Arrested
Yeah,
Development
I don't know.
type
I'm
thing.
not
Yeah.
so damn interested in that,
Yeah, unless that's an Adam Sandler character in a comedy,
Well,
I'm not really
those
interested in
work
that
because they
character.
do the salty sweet stuff, and so I think that makes sense. Kevin Smith does the same thing. Where it's the bright side of that is enough. Like, if you're going to show the dark side of the coin, then you should also show the bright side of the coin. Right? There should be some balance to it, And I think a lot of
100%.
The angsty type stuff, especially lately, doesn't reach that. It just doesn't get that. I don't know. Everything's so down lately. I don't want to be down anymore.
Well, it's the award season type
Yes.
stuff too. I mean, everyone's praising Nomadland, and I'm sure Frances McDormand is fantastic. I've heard the highest compliment you can give an actor or an actress, which is that she seems to be acting without acting. That's just, I believe that. She's fantastic. However, I feel like I saw that, not that movie, but I feel like I saw that character in Three Billboards Outside of Missouri, or was it Mississippi? I feel like I've seen that hurt, broken, bitter character she does, and now I'm ready for her to try something else again. And I just can't get myself to sit down and watch Nomadland knowing that I'm going to be bummed out. You don't have that much time in the world, and during these times I want to be entertained, and I don't understand why the rise of the popular film has not happened. We need mass populist entertainment right now. Where is the next big? Where is it? It's not Wonder Woman. It wasn't Soul.
Superhero movies, obviously the Marvel movies fit that, but I don't think the Marvel movies have a point anymore. No, I'm out of it. Like, I need something new.
Yeah,
it can be
Black
a
Widow.
superhero.
Are you holding your breath?
It can be a superhero movie that's next that fits this part, that fits this role. I'm not saying I'm done with superhero movies, but I'm done with Marvel movies. I know what they are. I know what to expect, and a lot of it just falls by the wayside with me. I think, I don't know. Everyone seems so impressed with everything lately, and they tell me about it, and I go and watch it. And I'm like, yeah, it's a thing, it's fine, it exists, but you're going to tell me this is the greatest thing that you could watch right now?
Well, not only that, I mean, you're gonna use up all my time scheduling it with Star Wars and Marvel
I'm
programming.
Totally
Do I need 40 fucking shows?
I've seen the Mandalorian stuff, and it's like, it's good. Are you gonna keep doing this? Because it's the same. The season 2 is the same as season 1. I don't understand this anymore. WandaVision is a one-off thing. There's no way you make more WandaVision. It's ridiculous.
I can't pull myself to watch it.
A lot of this stuff is like that, though. It's just, this is all one-off entertainment. They're supposed to binge watch, supposed to see it in a flash and then get it. Okay, great. I got my fix for the month, now I'll pay off for the next month for my content, That's the other thing. I agree with, I agree and disagree with Scorsese on a lot of things he says, but I agree with the idea of content destroying film, destroying the idea of calling movies content, calling these things content. It does relegate them to a lesser meaningful impact, really, because the whole point then is just that it's content. It's numbers of shit. It's just how much crap do you have? How much time can you watch
to consume and dispose of?
That's not. That's the wrong way to approach it. You still get good stuff through that, absolutely, but it is just, I think, going full bore business side on this stuff is just not worth it, man. Go artistic, please.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think that also with the Disney and the Marvel programming outside of it, it was fine when it was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it was a odd connective tissue here and there to the theatrical. Didn't mind that. I thought they spread themselves a little thin with Agent Carter. But when you started getting into the Netflix that had all these... Hey, I love Daredevil. That's, one of my favorite characters in all of comic, especially in the Marvel universe. And I don't even watch that show. And I like John Bernthal.
I don't understand. Really good.
I'm sure it is, but once again, you watch it all for what? It didn't build to anything. There's not a movie spin-off of it. Eventually they'll reincarnate it. They'll do it in a different version, and they'll have to watch all that shit. It's like the Spider-Man stuff.
I don't know. In that case, you would never watch anything. I don't know.
Well, let me tell you what I am watching, which I want to sheepishly confess to you on air, is I've started watching the Walker reboot. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's the Walker Texas Ranger.
I've
Chuck Norris Sunday
I've
night
pulled out
staple.
of CW at this point. I used to watch
back.
all that CW stuff. I pulled out. It's too much for me at this point.
Well, I like that you say that you pulled out because the
Too
CW
much.
app is called the CWC.
I know it
so
is.
you no longer are doing the
It's a bit-
CWC.
I thought that was off. I was like, ooh, why are we? What's that? Ooh.
Like, who are you seating over here,
it's a
sir?
little
It's a
gross.
little aggressive with your branding.
Yeah.
But I mean, let me tell you quickly about that show. That show is at its all-time fucking. It's at its most cringeworthy.
How
almost
political is that
90% of
show?
the time. I mean, I don't even want to get into it. It hits all. It checks all
That's
the
why I
boxes.
stopped watching CW.
And it's so strange to me because it's the exact antithesis. And all its stances of what the Walker
I know.
Chuck Norris version was. So why even call it this? Why even? And it's not like this Paladecki guy, the main character or the actor, can do a
Well, let me
flying
ask
jump
you this:
kick. I
how
don't
are you
understand
going
what we're
to
doing here.
reboot a show meant for old men, for young people? And
Basically.
there's so many of those old men shows, and I watch them now as an old man, and I love them. I mean, I watched them as a kid too, but I just don't see how you reboot some of this stuff and have it be any good. And I'll be damned if I can think of any, Gen Z or kid, anyone in their 20s or in their teens that are going to want to watch Walker, Texas Ranger. I just
Nobody
don't
even
even
knows who
get
the
it.
fuck
Why would
Chuck
anyone want to
Norris
watch
is.
that age? They're not. That's
No, they
crazy.
They don't. And they barely know who the lead actor is unless you've seen Supernatural or whatever that show he was on forever. But it's, not to go off on this, but I'll spend my time watching that, but not something I actually want to watch because I just hate watch that anyways. And how long are you going to watch this? Until I fucking like it. That's where, which ain't happening, so. Well, that's going to wrap up episode 370. We want to thank you guys for joining Trevor and I on this inaugural video podcast. Check us out on the YouTube channel, the Movie Mavericks YouTube channel. We got a bunch of content on there. We also have auditory podcasts for you and available on Spotify, YouTube as well. Also on, Podbean. We're all over the place.
We're on
Basically,
everything.
wherever you can get something in your ear.
If you can't
we're gonna be
handle the
whispering in your
eyesight
ear,
of
you guys.
us, you can certainly handle the hearing of us. I don't know what you'd say. Yeah, but yeah. We can invade any crevice of your body you'd like. We have it. It's all available.
Yeah, any opening, we'll jump right in there. Trevor's looking to CW seed that real quick. All right, speaking for Trevor Anderson here on my right, I am Jason Rugard, and we are the Movie Mavericks.
Oh my, another magnificent episode has come to an end. If you're craving more, set your destination to moviemavericks.com, Warp 9. Engage!